Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and we've completed game week 9. The Spurs versus Fulham game has just finished about 5 minutes ago, and some decent scores. I think in general we've got a nice, I believe it was 14-pointer from Son, 9-pointer from Maddison, but there is one player who let us down, and I'm not sure if it was the player who let us down as much as it was the manager who let us down. Yes, and Postecoglou, I've got a bone to pick with you, because I know you're an FPL fan, I know you're an FPL manager, and yet somehow you know the rules of FPL, and yet you decide to substitute off a doggy at 55 minutes so he gets a 1-pointer when all of the teammates there getting clean sheets. How is that fair? He must be in some kind of mini league or something like that. He knew his big rival had a doggy in the team. I'm calling it, guys. I'm calling collusion. I'm calling collusion. He knows what he's doing, and I'm not very impressed. And I'm sure a lot of people are pretty disappointed by that one as well, because clean sheet was just on the cards. 55-minute substitution. Come on, man. Come on. That is an absolute joke. So annoying, but hey, that's part of FPL, right? That's part of FPL. We're just gonna have to deal with it. But guys, in general, not an insane week. I know a couple of you guys had absolutely insane game weeks this week. That was not me, but still a pretty decent score. 84 points for me overall. This is my live rank. I'm on the Fantasy Football Hub, my team tool. As we all know, to have a look at my live rank here, and we're up to 195k, so it's a green arrow still. We are up into the top 200k now, which is very, very nice to see. And hopefully we will continue the upward trend. It was a decent game week overall, but yeah, a couple of letdowns. A doggy was the biggest disappointment there. Turner obviously was on. He was on for like a 9-pointer at 80 minutes, and then conceded 2 goals, and everything just went down the drain. So really disappointing there for Turner in the end, because it was so close. And then obviously Cash didn't get anything in that game. Diaby very close to getting assists in that game, but didn't quite come off. And Sojek was in some good areas, but wasn't really taking the shots or getting creating the chances for teammates either, really. So, but yeah, I'm still kind of glad I did my double transfer, because I did sell. Who did I sell? I sold Ward-Prowse, who also got no points, and I sold Darwin, who didn't start. He only got 4 points, Darwin. So yeah, not too many points here. So the Sojek and Watkins move in did pay off. That double transfer did pay off, and it does put me in a good situation for this game week, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I've only got 1 free transfer though, and I know a lot of you guys have 2 free transfers now, but I only got 1. Let me show you what my team is looking like right now. So if we go onto the pick team page, it's very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I've obviously built this team for this game week, haven't I? Really. And it's good to have the triple Aston Villa against Luton. I think that's very, very nice. I think some of my other picks could work out pretty well as well. We've got like the Spurs guys still. We've got Trippier still against Wolves. We've got Salah against Forest. We've got Haaland against Manchester United, which I think is fine. It's it's a strong team, but the big plan for me was free up enough budget to do Maddison to Saka this week, because Saka plays against Sheffield United, and Maddison's against Crystal Palace. But Crystal Palace's defensive numbers seem to be going like downhill. They seem to be becoming a worse and worse defense. And Spurs just keep on impressing. Maddison keeps on impressing. Son keeps on impressing. Is it wrong for me to say that I don't know if I actually want to sell a Spurs midfielder for Saka anymore? I'm not sure if I can do it, guys. I'm not sure if I can do it anymore. I mean, I have the budget right there. We could do Maddison straight to Saka with 0.2 to spare as well, which is really nice. Maybe is that what I should be doing right now? I don't know. I don't know anymore. Could I maybe move Sojek to someone else? Got 5.7 to spend there. Could I do? There's not really any other players I'd be willing to sacrifice. I mean, I could maybe get rid of a doggy. My team's just looking pretty good. Maybe I just don't make a transfer at all. Or maybe I did toy with the idea of bringing in a Gabriel from Arsenal. Do I do a doggy to Gabriel? Like, at least get some Arsenal player in for the Sheffield United game? Is that the play? I'm not sure. Do I do Sojek to a Dingra? Because obviously Brighton have some really nice fixtures coming up from here on as well. It's so tough, isn't it? It's so tough. I think a lot of people would have been planning to do a Spurs midfielder to Saka, but I think that is such a hard decision now, isn't it? Such a hard decision. Soucek to Palmer, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that looks kind of obvious in a way, but you are depending on penalties a little bit there. But hey, that could work out, couldn't it? I think on paper, Soucek has the better fixture. I think Soucek does better from open play, doesn't he, probably? And then Palmer is obviously going to be on those penalties. But the Spurs, the Chelsea fixtures are just not great, are they? If we have a look through Chelsea's fixtures, they're still they kind of suck a little bit. We've got Brentford next, then Spurs, then Man City, then Newcastle, then Brighton, then Manchester United. It's an absolute horror show. After that, I mean, looking really good again. So from game week 16, I would definitely be having Palmer very high on my list. And it's nice to have Palmer as a possible escape route from Soucek, but I think if I had the choice right now, I'd rather go to Adingra just because of that March injury. I don't know if any of you guys saw this. Solly March, suspected ACL. I'm sure we'll get confirmation on that pretty soon, but it is a suspected, it's a suspected big one. Yeah, really, really difficult. It's just, but I just think, I guess it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have that I don't really know where to go on my transfers right now. Because I like everyone. There'd be a few players I'd be willing to sacrifice, but that's about it. Like even Diaby, I know he's not performed in the last couple of game weeks, but against Luton, you'd feel right to feel excited in a game like that, wouldn't you? Like it's definitely an exciting one, if nothing else. Yeah, man. What do you do? What do you do? I don't know. I really don't know. I would love to have Saka in my team though, so maybe I still do Maddison to Saka. I'm confused right now though, guys. So I don't have a clue how you guys are feeling, but yeah, I'm certainly confused on this bad boy. Really, really, really am. Yeah, there's some other players that you could easily sacrifice for Saka if you have them, but these two Spurs midfielders, really, really tough. But yeah, a few things to talk about today. We want to talk about whether Watkins is essential. I think he possibly is. Ahead of this Luton game, another fantastic performance from Watkins with a goal and an assist. Could have actually got more from that game as well. Unlucky not to get a second goal in that game. Although the goal that he did take was very, very clinical. Far more so than I was kind of expecting from him, really. But very, very impressive stuff there. Looking forward, looking at the form he's in right now, looking at the fixture against Luton Town at home, then Nottingham Forest, then Fulham. And then even Spurs and Bournemouth aren't exactly bad fixtures. Ollie Watkins could be the most important player in FPL right now to have in your team. We've also got Salah, who is such an interesting one. He has Luton in 11, but for 10, it's just like, Salah, like, he's not playing that well. He's genuinely not playing that well. And I know people who don't watch the games, or maybe have, I don't know. I think even Liverpool fans would probably admit that Salah is picking up points really well. But in general, like he's not been like the standout star player. And I think penalties obviously have helped a lot with FPL for him. But hey, if you have penalties, you know, you pick penalty takers for a reason and they get you FPL points, you know. Is he going to get another penalty against Forest though? Because I think that would be... he would need that in order to become a captainable player, and you don't really know. You can say Haaland could have the captain's armband. He's on penalties as well. I don't know. Is Watkins the captain, the guy to be captain this week? Yeah, it's really, really difficult. So, yeah, I think we need to do a poll on the best captain for this game week, but I don't really know who to include in the poll. I think there are 4 players for captaincy that stand out to me the most right now. And that would be, obviously, Haaland. Haaland is a captain option every game week. Whether it's a good fixture or a bad week, he's always an option, right? And I know he didn't score, like, mega points in game week 9, but, like, he still got the goal. Still got the goal, still got a couple of bonus points there. You know, that's a decent captain score in a normal game week. In a game week like game week 9, when you look around at all of the other insane scores that other players got, you know, Salah and Watkins and Son and these kind of players getting really nice FPL scores, even Trippier, you know. It'd be very easy to say that Haaland captaincy was a fail. It's a fail within the context of the other players, but in a typical week, you probably take an 8-point captain in general, don't you? Like if someone offers you 8 points before a game week starts, Like, they say, right, if you pick this player as your captain, they're going to score 8 points. I guarantee you 8 points for your captain. You probably say, yeah, I mean, I would like a little bit more, but that's not too bad. That's not too bad, really. So, yeah, Haaland always a captain option. I think the second option is obviously Salah, because he's Salah. He's going to be a captain option in pretty much all games. And Mbumo too, yeah. And Mbumo with another crazy score that makes the Haaland score look worse as well. Yeah, definitely worth a mention there. But yeah, Salah always a captain option on penalties, scoring well in FPL at the moment, and it's not such a bad fixture against Forest. It's pretty decent. And then we've got the likes of Saka, who plays against Sheffield United. Saka putting up some of the best numbers in the Premier League. I mean, let's have a look at... I'm just going to put up... do this by expected points, because I feel like expected points per start is a good metric to see, just in general, what the underlying numbers are saying. So far this season, the players with the best... there's some surprises here, by the way. The best expected points per start. I think that's important to do per start. We've got Salah at the top, then Haaland, then Mbumo, then Saka, and then you've got like some kind of rotation risk players like Isak and Ake. You know, if they were guaranteed starts every game, we'd pre-pick in the likes of Saka, Isak and Ake, wouldn't we? And we've got Son, who's done super well. Eze, who's been super unlucky this season, if we're totally honest. Maddison, Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, your more typical players you expect to see here. Matty Cash is up here as well. This is through the whole season, by the way, guys. Maybe we could bring it a little bit closer. So we could, if we do like last few game weeks, I guess. I'm not sure if the Spurs numbers would have been updated on here or not yet, because the game has literally just finished, but you never know. So yeah, even in more recent game weeks, again, we're looking at Salah, Haaland, Son, Saka. You probably don't captain Son against Crystal Palace, because they do sit in quite deep. Decore is an interesting one there, kind of towards the top of this list. Trippier, we expect to see him here. Watkins, we expect to see him here. Soucek, yeah, this is basically why I've picked Soucek. Is because his underlying numbers are so good, and he is getting FPL returns as well, or at least prior to me bringing him in, he was getting FPL returns. So definitely do still fancy him as a pick. So, yeah, we have to... So we've already said Haaland and Salah are captain options. The next player you have to throw into this conversation, I feel, you probably skip over Son because of the fixture, and then you say Saka. Because Saka's numbers have been really good as well, and he has been getting results, and he has been, like, talismanic for Arsenal. When we compare Saka to a lot of the other Arsenal players, typically we would say last season, for example, we'd say, you know, it's very difficult to pick out one player from Arsenal. You know, Saka will be sharing the points with Martinelli and Ødegaard and whoever else, Jesus maybe. That's not really been the case this season. Saka's been like the key to everything for Arsenal. He really has been. He's been doing fantastically and a real standout player in that Arsenal game, which I feel like makes him more of a captain option. He's got a super nice fixture, of course, so he needs to be thrown into the conversation. Absolutely. Coffee with a super chat here says, what happened to your twin, the FC24 content creator? Basically, Coffee, my internet has just been really, really bad recently. It should have been fixed today. I haven't really tested it out, but my internet's just been super bad. So to be able to even playing FC has been a struggle recently. I've barely been able to play properly at all, let alone streaming at the same time. So yeah, we've parked that one, to be honest. Plus, it's been pretty busy time for FPL content and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be revisiting that channel at some point or another. But back to FPL, and people asking about a doggy. There's no injury or anything like that. We did touch on it earlier, that like I can see a few people panicking about a doggy. There's no real concern there right now. He just got substituted early, presumably for Emerson Royale is obviously a more defensive-minded player. So I assume it was just a tactical decision to try and keep that game nice and tight and grind out the clean sheet, basically, which could happen in the future. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, back to this. So Saka, I think, is definitely a captain option. Putting up great numbers, the talisman of Arsenal, shooting in the box, on penalties maybe, I don't know. Maybe on penalties, maybe not. So he's definitely a captain guy. And the last... Sorry, I had a bit of lip skin in my mouth. Gross. And the last player is Watkins. So we do have to go down and drop down the list a little bit in terms of the underlying numbers, but Watkins has been putting up some really good actual numbers, sort of comparable to the likes of Trippier and Son, and, you know, better than Saka actually in recent game weeks, better than Haaland in recent game weeks, but that massive score against Brighton did help Watkins in his average points per game. His underlying numbers aren't quite as good as some of these other guys, but they're still very good. They're still very, very good. He's still, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 7th best underlying numbers per game over the last few game weeks, over the last 6, which is good. It's good enough. It's good enough to captain him when a fixture is as good as Luton. So I feel like those are the 4. Like Salah, Haaland, Saka, and Watkins. Those are the big captains to choose from this week, and I think it could be a pretty even split. So straight away, guys, what I feel like I have to do in this stream, because I'm so curious. I'm so curious, guys. Is I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to do a poll between those 4 players. I wanna see what you think. I want to see what the people are saying right now, and I'm not going to write who is your captain. So read the poll very carefully. This is not who are you going for captain, but who do you think is the best captain? Because it might be that you don't have one of these players, but actually you would be looking to captain them if possible. So I'm putting in a poll. Who do you think? All right. Who is the best game week 10 captain? And I'm putting in the options as Haaland, Salah, Saka, and Watkins. I appreciate a few of you guys might be going for someone else, but I'm going to put these as the options, and I want to get your opinion out of these guys. We've got a nice $5 super chat here from Mohammed. I really appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much. Mohammed says, same team as yours, but have Sofal for Udogie, Gordon for Soshek. So pretty decent. Sounds pretty good, my friend. Game week 10, Alvarez for Haaland, Saka for Gordon, and Watkins for Mbeumo. Thoughts? Okay, so you're basically downgrading Haaland in order to get Saka and Watkins in. It's going to take you a lot, because you can't do Watkins straight in from Mbeumo. So this is a minus. If you have 2 free transfers, this is a -8 already. If you have 0 free transfers, it's a -12. Yes, that is crazy. So let's nip that in the bud. First of all, it is crazy. But it's not too bad. I'm not sure if I personally am not really ready to sacrifice Haaland for my team. But if it means getting in Saka, I do get it. I do get it. Would I take a -12 for that? Probably not. But Watkins is a really important player as well. Watkins is the most important player for you to bring in right now, I think, ahead of this game week. Saka is up there as well. If you have to downgrade Haaland to Alvarez to do that, then hey, I guess it's not so bad. I don't know if I love it. I probably wouldn't do it personally, but hey, it's crazy and it's fun, and that's what FPL should be about, right? That should be a big part of it, having fun, and that definitely looks fun, right? It's -4 for 2. It's not 2 free transfers though, because it's Alvarez to Haaland, Saka to Gordon, and then it's downgrading Mbeumo and then upgrading to Watkins. So that's 4 transfers, because you can't do Mbeumo straight to Watkins because they play in different positions. So it would be a crazy amount of like transfers all in one. It'd be 4 transfers in one game week, which is a bit crazy. But hey, part of it. It's all part of it. But yeah, you could do, man. Could do. I don't see why not. Yeah, a few people seem to be fuming about the Udogie early sub. Yeah, it's an annoying one, but hey, part of FPL. Part of FPL, part of the game. You roll with the punches, don't you guys? You have to. What else can you do? But yeah, let's have a look and see how this poll is developing currently. Interesting to see that Haaland is at the bottom of this. And guys, make sure you are voting on this poll. If you're in the chat, you can see we've got 1,000 people in the chat. Stick a little vote in there. Stick a little vote. Let's get your opinions. I want to really get a good idea of where the FPL world are thinking. What we're thinking for captaincy right now, and it might change, to be fair, by the deadline. But I want to see where we are at right now, and it seems right now that we're Team Salah, which, if I'm totally honest, is would not be my first choice. He probably wouldn't be my second choice either. I think I'm more Team Saka and Watkins, which is quite crazy. Maybe I'm Team Watkins, you know. I don't know. I expected this to be a little bit closer, to be honest. Guys, also make sure you are liking the stream as well. I really do appreciate it. You know, like I say, there's 1,000 of you, 1,100 of you in here right now. We've only got 99 likes, so let's try and bump that up to at least 200. I'm sure we can get up to 1,000 by the time all the replay watchers join in as well. Would really, really appreciate that. But I'll leave that captaincy poll running just for a few minutes, and we'll revisit that. But we are seeing some very clear trends on which players are the best FPL picks right now. And it is Salah, Haaland, Son, Saka, Trippier, Watkins. These are the big guys right now. You can maybe throw Maddison into that conversation a little bit if you want to. You can maybe throw in Jared Bowen into that conversation as well. It's going to be really, really difficult to get all of them. It's going to be really difficult to get all of them for everyone. So, yeah, I need to figure out how I'm going to do it myself. Maybe I'll just stick with the original plan. The original plan was there for a reason, and that's Maddison to Saka. I mean, if you look at... If I do this transfer... Well, I won't actually do it, but if I just show you my team with that transfer... In fact, let me do it on... let me do it on this. Let me do it on FPL team. This was from yesterday. Let's what? I don't even know what my number is to do this. Okay, my ID. So yeah, because maybe we'll have a look and see what the AI reckons as well for transfers. It's probably going to tell me to remove a doggy or Soshek, to be honest. Let's have a look. AI transfers. What do they reckon? I do like to use this tool just to get me some ideas. What about Neto? I mean, he's fine. Neto's like a fine, cheap guy. But like, he's not going to be top of the like priority list, is he? Like Newcastle is the next fixture for Wolves. You're probably not going to buy Neto ahead of the Newcastle game, are you? I mean, or are you? I mean, I wouldn't personally. You probably wait one more game week because Neto's got a good fixture in 11, right? So yeah, it's saying a doggy to Tsimikas. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, a doggy to Tsimikas or a doggy to Gabriel are definitely moves I would consider. But if we say we want to keep a doggy, what other options have we got? 100% goalie, says Phil. I'm not wasting transfers on a goalie. Kabore to Tsimikas. Can I afford that? Yeah, technically I can afford that, can't I? Wow, okay, so it really wants to get Tsimikas in the team, basically. He seems to be the AI hype player. You got anything else for me? Soshek to Gordon? Yeah, I definitely get that. Definitely get that as well. But this is spending the money I don't really want to spend. That's spending my Saka money. My Saka money, man. So if I was to remove Maddison and bring in Saka, this is what my team would look like for this game week. We'd have Areola against Everton, Cash against Luton, Trippier against Wolves, a doggy against Crystal Palace, which I think is a good fixture if you're looking for a clean sheet. Salah against Forest, Son against Crystal Palace, Diaby against Luton, Saka against Sheffield United, Soshek against Everton, Haaland against United, and Watkins against Luton. That's insane. That's such a good team. Brian in the chat says, I'm selling Neto for a Dingra. Yeah, don't blame you. I think Neto is more of a player you'd be removing than bringing in this game week. But like this team looks so good on paper. The two concerns are a doggy and Soshek, aren't they? Really. Joe says Tsimikas got subbed at 61 minutes this week. Big writ. That is very true, and we did speak about that briefly last game week when we were talking about Tsimikas as a pick. I did say in the end, ultimately, that I do think it is worth the risk, and I think I stand by that. I do think Tsimikas is worth the risk of going for him, but he is definitely a player who is gonna basically doing a doggy. Do what a doggy did this week to us and score a 1-pointer and his team will go on and keep a clean sheet. It's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point or another for Tsimikas. That's just something that we have to accept. It really is. But yeah, man, I like the look of... I really like the look of this team, and it will involve taking out Maddison for Saka, which to me just feels like just a little bit luxury. a little bit luxury. But after that, Spurs play against Chelsea. That's a tough fixture as well. Like Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Wolves away. Like, what other fixtures have we got? We've got Aston Villa at home, Man City away, West Ham at home, Newcastle. This is not the best fixture run for Spurs. If you can keep Son, I think I probably would, because he's just been in such scintillating form. But if you're looking for the super high upside, are you going to get that from Maddison? I'm not sure. I'm not sure you are going to get that from Maddison. Saka might be the guy. Everything's pointing towards him. Like, I can't help myself but looking at this table of players with the best underlying numbers right now, and it's Salah, Haaland, Son, Saka. We've got Mbeumo and Decore in there, who I'm actually not that bothered about, because I think, yes, their underlying numbers are good, but their respective teams' form is not great. The fixtures aren't amazing either, so I'm not overjoyed with those two players. I feel like maybe they've got a little bit lucky, maybe they've got a bit unlucky, or maybe it's just a case of, yes, they're putting up good numbers, but ultimately they don't have the same quality as a Salah, Haaland, Son, Saka, Trippier, Watkins, because these are the players around them. And you could put Soucek in the same bracket as well, but at least Soucek is only 4.9 million. If I can get in my team Salah, Haaland, Son, Saka, Trippier, Watkins, these six, this is the big six, isn't it? These are the 6 players that everyone wants in their team. Everyone wants these 6. And a lot of people are struggling to do it. Soucek is the enabler that allows you to do it, which I've already done. So do I just need to follow through? Possibly. I think that was the original plan. That was the original plan. Let's see if we stick to it or not. You never know. You never know. Abimanu, thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Abimanu says, Areola, Trippier, Trent, Gabriel, Son, Maddison, Bowen, Salah, Watkins, Højlund, and Alvarez. A doggy on the bench. 2 free transfers. Nothing in the bank. What would I do? I would get rid of Højlund. I would get rid of Højlund. I would be very sick and tired of Manchester United players by now if I were you. You probably would ideally like to get Saka into this team. If you've got a team with no Højlund, then the reason you're doing that is to get players like Saka in. You've got 2 free transfers. Could you do some kind of double move that involves downgrading Højlund to probably Osula at 4.3 million in the forward slot, and upgrading whoever is your bench midfielder, because you've got Son, Maddison, Bowen, Salah. So presumably you've got a bench one there as well. Can you afford to upgrade to Saka? Or maybe you can't because you've gone for Trent. Maybe Trent has caused you this issue. Because if you are going Haalandless, and going back to my list of players that I think are like the big 6, Trent is not one of the big 6. He's not even close to being one of the big 6. If you're going without Haaland, you probably need to make sure you have all of the other 5. So Saka is your priority. How are you going to do that? I don't know. Trent down to Tsimikas? Maybe. Trent down to Tsimikas, and then, your 5th midfielder up to Saka. You've got to get Saka in, though, I think. You really got to get him. What do you guys think in the chat? You got to get Saka. If you're going without Haaland, Saka is like, you got to have him, right? Got to have him. Jensen says, does Darwin start this week, mate? Yeah, we are a little way away from the deadline, but in theory, yes. In theory, yes. Mitoma, yeah, he's another player you would say is reasonably high priority for a transfer, but where are his numbers in relation to everyone else? So if we go to Brighton, why is that not working? We go to Brighton. Look at recent expected points. Mittoma's not been putting up great numbers, but he has had horror fixtures. But his numbers have just not been great recently, unfortunately. But that's perhaps just as a result of the horrible run of fixtures. I mean, let's have a look here at the fixtures that Brighton have had this recently. So Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Manchester United, Newcastle. Yes, they did have Bournemouth in there, but in general, since the first 2 fixtures, Mitoma in the easy fixtures, which were Bournemouth, Wolves and Luton. All of the other fixtures have been reasonably tough, other than maybe West Ham. You can maybe put Aston Villa in there. Mitoma has performed. He's a bit of a minnow killer in many ways, and we've got some minnows coming up. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit harsh saying Fulham are minnows, because I don't know if that's necessarily true. Same with Everton, but certainly Sheffield United in there, Burnley in 16. I definitely think he is a player on the cards. Definitely a player we want to be thinking about at least. But I still, based on form, because I think form has to be taken into consideration just as much, if not more, than fixtures. Saka is the priority. Saka is the priority. Brighton's form isn't great. Yeah, footballing, you're not totally wrong, but I think it's harsh to say that, because they have had such bad fixtures. They really have had such bad fixtures. You have to feel a bit of sympathy for them, and they're actually not doing too badly, like their results. The last three have not been great results, but they only lost by 1 goal against Man City. They drew with Liverpool. These are not horrible results, really. Aston Villa was a big loss, of course. But even before that, they beat Man United, they beat Newcastle. The last 3 games haven't been perfect. But certainly in the last 2, game week 7 against Aston Villa, get it. I definitely get it. But in the last 2 fixtures, to pick up 1 point against Man City and Liverpool, is that really so bad? It could be. That could be a lot worse. To be one goal down essentially over the 2 fixtures, scoring 3 goals in the process. It's not really so bad. I don't think it's so bad. Anyway, Matthew Vaughan in this chat says Alvarez to Watkins worth a hit. He seems essential. It's really, really difficult because a lot of people, particularly in my comments recently, have been. I put up a wildcard video this morning or early afternoon. Basically, it was a team without Alvarez, and some of the most popular comments on that video were, Dan, I can't believe you're suggesting to go without Alvarez. But I think that was more a point of people don't want to sell Alvarez. If you're in on a wild card now and you already have Alvarez, I think it's much harder to sell him because you have value invested in him. He's a player that has served you very well, and you might not be willing to get rid of him. Whereas me, as someone who's never owned Alvarez, it's slightly different for me, I think. And I'm kind of thinking, moving forward, if I'm just thinking objectively, I'm not an Alvarez owner, I'm not invested in him, I don't have team value in him or anything like that, I have no emotional connection to this FPL asset, I would be more than happy to not have him going forward. I really would. The fixtures are okay, but they're not like amazing. Rotation is going to happen for Alvarez at some point or another. It is going to happen. We know it. We've been blessed recently, but Pep will Pep again. Don't what's the old story about the what is it? It's I can't even, like the scorpion and the frog. The parable about the scorpion and the frog. Pep Guardiola is a scorpion, and if you are a frog right now, and you're thinking about buying Alvarez, it is the equivalent of carrying over that scorpion across the river. This is not going to make sense for people who don't know the parable of the scorpion and the frog, but it basically means there once was a little frog, and a scorpion came up to the frog and said, "Hey, Mr. Frog, I want to cross over this river. Can you help me?" And the frog said, "No, I'm not going to help you over this river, because if I let you on my back and hop across this river, you're gonna sting me. You're a scorpion. You're gonna sting me." And the scorpion says to the frog, "Why would I sting you when we're crossing the river? We'll both die. So it doesn't make sense. Why would I sting you?" So the frog said, "Oh yeah, good point. Why would you sting me? We'd both die. That would be no good." So the scorpion hops on the frog's back. The frog's like, let's go for it. Let's cross the river. And you know what happens? The frog is halfway across the river with a scorpion on the back. And the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog As he starts to drown, he's paralysed. They're both going down with the ship. The frog says to the scorpion, "Why did you do that? We're both going to die now." And the scorpion says as they begin to drown, "Of course I did that. I'm a scorpion." And the point is that it doesn't matter what the situation. It doesn't matter if Alvarez is the best FPL asset in the game. You know, he's doing so well. It is within the scorpion's nature to sting. It's a scorpion. It's what it does. Pep Guardiola rotates his players. That's what he does. So no matter how good Alvarez is doing, well, Pep will pep him. Pep will pep him. And the fish eats them both, says Kieran. Yeah, maybe Watkins is the fish and has a lovely snack. Frogs can't swim. Scott, are you crazy? What do you mean frogs can't swim? Yes, they can. Of course they can. Of course frogs can swim. Or am I going crazy? I've seen frogs swim. Anyway. So yeah, there's a little parable for you. But yeah, I think that is you know, it's a good it's a good thing to think about when you're thinking about Pep. He will do it to you. He will do it to you. He really will, because it's in his nature to rotate his players. And whether you think it's a terrible idea or not, whether it is a terrible idea or not for Pep to rotate his players, he will still do it. Moving on. Moving on. Yeah, so Alvarez out, Watkins in. Definitely get it. I definitely understand it as a move. Would you do it as a hit? I don't know. I don't know if I would do it. I think if you've got a lot of value tied up in Alvarez, I think it would be very difficult for you to do it as well, to be honest. But do I think Watkins is a better pick than Alvarez? Yes. Yes, I definitely do. I definitely do think Watkins is a better pick than Alvarez. Would I do it for a free? Yes, I would. I would do it for a free. Would I do it for a hit? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really tough. I guess it depends on what your other transfer would be. I think that's probably, you know, if you're taking a hit to remove Alvarez to Watkins, I definitely understand it, but I feel like the other transfer would have to be worth it. So presumably you're downgrading probably a midfielder. It would be safe to assume you're downgrading a midfielder in order to do that. Who is the midfielder being downgraded? Is it a Salah? Is it a Son? Is it a Saka? If you're talking about downgrading these kind of players, then no, you don't do it. But yeah. Scott says, yes, they can swim, but you said the frog drowned. Yeah, the frog drowned because it had been stung by the scorpion. The scorpion stung the frog. And they both drowned. That's one of my favourite stories, by the way. I don't even know where it's from. I think it's like an old Chinese proverb or something like that. Or maybe an Aesop's fable. Who knows? That's why the frog died. They both died because the scorpion stung it. It didn't benefit either of them for the scorpion to sting. But it's in the scorpion's nature. It's in the scorpion's nature. Someone will be able to tell me where that story is from, if not in the chat, but in the comments. But yeah, anyway. It's really difficult because I know a lot of you guys are going to not have Watkins. I mean, that's proven by the fact that Watkins is nowhere near 100% ownership, 35%. I think in the Content Creators League, Watkins is only owned by about 40% of content creators right now. And maybe if there's a few content creators wildcarding in 10, I think that changes it. And if you're on a wildcard, Watkins is essential, right? Watkins is essential. But if you don't have Watkins, it's tough. It's tough because the other kind of forwards that people have right now, if we go through the forwards, are kind of most owned at the moment. It's players like Alvarez, who's been doing well in general, but has okay fixtures in the very short term, but after that it does go downhill. You could arguably say that the Manchester United is a difficult game. I really don't know how to call that one. It could go either way. It could be a tight game in a big derby, or City could just destroy an out-of-form Man United team. We know that next game is nice. If Alvarez is going to get rotated, you would say that the Bournemouth game is the game where he would get rotated, which is another just annoying thing about Pep Guardiola FPL picks, is that it's often the best players get rotated in the fixtures you want them in the most. So it's tough, when we've got cup games, European games in and around this Bournemouth at home game. Now that Pep's got pretty much his whole squad back, this Bournemouth game is, in this run of games, the Bournemouth game is the one where Alvarez potentially gets dropped if you're just trying to work out and figure out Pep, which is hard enough to do as it is. But I'm sure you guys would agree, if you are Pep Guardiola and you have to rotate Alvarez for just one game during this run, including the Champions League games and cup games or whatever, that Bournemouth game is the one to put him on the bench. That is the game to put him on the bench. Or at the very least to sub him early, like a 50-minute sub or something like that, or a 45-minute sub. That is the game, which is the opposite of what you want as an Alvarez owner. So in general, I will stick to this one, and I will say I do think Watkins is a good enough pick that I would be looking to remove Alvarez for Watkins. How you do that is another question, because there is a bit of a gap between their two prices. Particularly if you bought Alvarez in a lot earlier, you might only be able to sell Alvarez for 6.8 million or 6.9 million. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. Players after that who are popular, like Isak, would you sell him? Possibly. Going to be rotation there even when he is fully fit, which he's not. So Wolves away and then Arsenal at home. I think at this combo of fixtures and adding the not 100% fit to him and the European games as well for Isak to Watkins is much easier as a move, so I would do that as well. So Alvarez I would move, Isak to move. Darwin is much more difficult because when you watch Darwin, he's playing very well. He genuinely is playing very well. And the next two fixtures are Forest at home and Luton away. And I would endeavour to say that Darwin starts both of those games. I would say Darwin starts both of those games. And if so, he genuinely, in the next two, Darwin could outscore Watkins. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it could happen. So I think Darwin to Watkins is still something you do on a luxury transfer or on a wild card. But if you don't have free transfers to burn, and actually it's not your biggest priority, I don't think I would do Darwin to Watkins necessarily. Other players, if you can do Wissa to Watkins or João Pedro to Watkins or Ferguson or Højlund or Morris or anyone else like that, Jackson, Wilson, Antonio, blah, 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 any of these players to Watkins, then you just straight up do it. I think the one player who I would be very hesitant about swapping to Watkins is Darwin. But aside from that, Watkins is just so essential that you got to have him, right? You got to have him. It's got to be done. So are we saying that Watkins is essential all in all? I think we are. I think that's probably what I'm saying right now. Watkins is essential. Right. Let's finish off the stream by having a look at these best captain picks. And I want to have a look at the predicted points for players in Gameweek 10, to see how it stacks up, see what the predicted points are from some of our favourite captain options for Gameweek 10. And finally, we'll finish off and we'll have a look at some potential price changes that are going to happen this game week, so we can start to be aware about whether we need to go in on early on any of these transfers. Another super chat from Mohammed says Højlund to Alvarez, Mubama to Watkins, Gordon to Saka. Mubama. Okay, the first time you put in the chat, Mohammed, it said Mbumo to Watkins. This makes much more sense for a -4. Yeah, Mohammed. Yeah, I like that a lot more. I do like that a lot more than having to potentially take a -12. For a -4, this looks a lot better. I think it's just going about Højlund is terrifying, isn't it? It's terrifying. But if you're willing to do it, then crack on, my friend. Crack on. I don't think it's so bad. Crack on. Right. So, I'm ending the poll. The FPL Mate live stream, strategy stream chat is officially saying that the best Game Week 10 captain is Salah. And it's not even particularly close. 49% on Salah, 24% on Watkins, 13% on Haaland, and 12% on Saka. And that's 1,500 votes, so that's a decent amount of people voting on that bad boy. So it's a good indication of where the FPL community is going right now with their thought process. There's going to be a lot of Salah captains. I do wonder, though, is that a decision that's been influenced by recent FPL returns rather than watching the games? Because remember, it's been a lot about penalties. You know, Salah has no penalties in the last 2 game weeks. I honestly, and this is completely feasible that this could have happened, if in the last 2 game weeks Salah scored 0 penalties, or had 0 penalties, he would be just as likely to get another penalty against Nottingham Forest in Game Week 10. Like, the fact that he's had a lot of penalties recently doesn't mean he's likely to get more or anything like that. Maybe, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. But if he hadn't have had those 2 penalties, he'd still be on penalties for the Nottingham Forest game. He'd still be just as likely or not to have a penalty in the Nottingham Forest game. If he hadn't scored them, would we still be saying Salah is the best captain pick? Would we be saying that? Honestly, yes, there would still be a few people captaining Salah, don't get me wrong. But what would his scores be? If Salah's last 2 game weeks, he scored 1 goal in each game, and it was maybe like a 8-pointer in 8 and a 9-pointer in 9. If he scored 8 and 9 points in the last 2 game weeks, would he be as popular as a captain pick for Game Week 10? I don't think he would. Mike says Salah takes penalties, that's why we own him, that's why we captain him. But Haaland is also on penalties. Saka is also on penalties. Douglas Luiz is also on penalties. Son is presumably also on penalties, even though he hasn't had a chance to take one. Paul says last year Forest beat Liverpool at Anfield 1-0. Yeah, I remember the game. I wouldn't take that into too much consideration. But okay, let's do like one more thing. But he did score. Yeah, I know he did. But my point is, penalties kind of pop up at random. And if he doesn't get a penalty against Forest, then, put pretty simply, he's not going to score another 15-pointer. So one more thing I did want to have a look at is the quality of the defences. So I'm going to look at all season. We're going to go per appearance. We've got a pretty decent data set so far for defence quality. I'm going to order this by expected goals conceded from best to worst, so we can get a good idea of who are the best defences and who are the worst defences. And the worst defences have fully emerged, and they're Bournemouth, Sheffield United, West Ham, Burnley, Luton, Fulham, Brighton. All of these teams you expect to see down here. Now, people consistently have this idea that Nottingham Forest are a bad defence, where, in all honesty, they haven't been. Nottingham Forest really have not been a bad defence at all this season. They've really not been that bad. So, if you're looking to target the best fixture, I saw people in the chat saying, well, but yeah, Salah, yeah, fair enough, he might not get a penalty in this game, but it's Nottingham Forest at home. And that's another one of my points. I don't, when we say Nottingham Forest at home, I don't really think that is a thing. You know, if it's Bournemouth at home, yeah. If it's Sheffield United at home, yeah. If it's West Ham or Burnley or Luton or Fulham at home, yeah. But Nottingham Forest at home, their defensive numbers are similar to, well, they're similar to Spurs or Liverpool or Manchester United, who, Nottingham Forest are putting up better defensive numbers than Manchester United. And Haaland is on penalties, is probably doing just as good, if not better, in open play. And actually, looking at these numbers, plays against in an easier fixture. So, Man United, Haaland against Manchester United, is that really a tougher fixture than Liverpool against Nottingham Forest? I don't know. Martin says, not the worst defence, but one of the worst attacks. Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, Nottingham Forest are not that good in attack at all. But that doesn't matter when you're thinking about captaining Salah. It doesn't matter how many goals Forest score against Liverpool. What you want is Salah to play against a team where he can score a lot of goals in. And I don't think Nottingham Forest are that in the same way as a Bournemouth or a Sheffield United or a Luton or a Burnley. Cody says, West Ham catching strays. They're not catching strays. Their numbers speak for themselves. They are conceding so much XG. Their expected goals conceded is through the roof. They've been bailed out a lot by Areola, to be honest. But their XGC is really, really high. It's worse than Luton. You know? Zubin says, Porro, Son and Archer or Reguilon, Maddison, Watkins. Do you have to have Reguilon? Can it be Tsimikas, Maddison, Watkins? That's the same price, isn't it? If so, that. Or similar. Yeah, I prefer the second option. I think Watkins is more important of a pick than Son is this game week. I think Watkins is more important. And you can cover Son a little bit with Maddison, because Maddison's the guy creating for him most of the time. Yeah. So, look, the chat seems very confident on Salah captaincy. I definitely agree that Salah is a captain option for this week, but I'm surprised that he's so popular, because I know a lot of FPL managers, they just pick their captain on who scored the most points recently, and we already know Salah's a good player and he's capable of getting those big points, so hey, why can't he do it again against Nottingham Forest? All I'm here to say is just maybe offer a slightly different kind of side to it, which is actually Nottingham Forest are not that bad. Actually, Salah has not actually been playing that great and has been a little bit dependent on penalties, which is valid still, in order to get those points. And I am, by the way, I'm a Salah owner. I captained Salah in game week 8, and it got me a huge rank boost. So this is not an anti-Salah agenda at all. I'm just not convinced. Zubin says Tsimikas is 0.1 out of reach. Oh, that's so annoying, man. That's so annoying. And maybe just go for a bench defender then. If you're going to bench them most game weeks anyway, just go for a 3.9. Go for a Taylor. Or, not Tarkovsky, Branthwaite at 4 million. That works as well. I wouldn't go for Reguilon, to be honest. Earl says, gun to your head, who are you captain right now? I can tell you it wouldn't be Salah right now. I mean, I could probably be convinced back onto Salah, but right now I'm not totally convinced. Villa at home too. Yeah, Villa against, honestly, Watkins against Luton tempts me more than Salah against Nottingham Forest. Gun to my head, who would I captain right now? I don't know. It's so tough this week. Salah, to be fair, Salah is definitely in my thoughts. But I don't think he's the obvious choice. That's my whole point. I don't think he's the obvious choice. Whereas, obviously, the poll results suggest that he is the obvious choice. Well, I don't agree with that. I think he's a good choice. I don't think he's the obvious choice. Let's have a look at predicted points. Let's see what the AI reckons to this. Well, surprise, surprise, the 4 players that we've spoken about are the top 4 highest predicted points for game week 10. Haaland, Salah, Saka and Watkins. Haaland is coming out on top with 7.5 predicted points against United. Salah's got 7.1 predicted points against Forest. Saka 6.4 predicted points against Sheffield United. And Watkins 5.8 predicted points against Luton. Which, given form, I'd be disappointed with 5.8 points against Luton, to be honest. I'd be pretty disappointed. But anyway, Scott says, I agree about Salah. As a wildcard this week, I feel hard done with his returns. Yeah, that's a really good point. If you haven't owned Salah over the last couple of game weeks, you fully have the right to feel hard done by. Because Salah's just not played that well. He's just been getting penalties, which is great. And you buy penalty takers, and you can't complain when penalty takers score goals, really. But you can feel a little bit hard done by, I guess, because, it could have been anyone. But it's the same principle as Douglas Luiz. Do you feel hard done by when Douglas Luiz scores a penalty? Probably not. Oh well. But yeah, Haaland has got the highest predicted points. Followed by Salah, followed by Saka, followed by Watkins. After that, just for a bit of fun, Martinelli, Son, Tsimikas. Yes, Tsimikas has got the second highest predicted points against Forest. Kaoru Mitoma, who we all expected to see around here. Diaby, yes. Come on, Diaby. Get me some FPL points. We need that. We need that. And then various other players slightly lower as well. Ben White, interesting to see him, in and around these kind of areas. But yeah, I wish we could. I was half hoping when I started the stream today that we'd actually come up with an answer of who's the best captain, but I don't think we have. I don't think we have found it out. I don't know. Right. Okay. Let's quickly look at what am I looking for? Price changes. We'll only look at this super quickly, and then I could see someone's asking me why I'm not using Twitter anymore. I'll cover that very, very briefly because I do have something to say regarding that as well in videos. But yes, in terms of price changes, it looks like we're gonna have they've changed it. Fantasy Football Hub have changed how their price change thing works. Oh, I see. They've just updated it. Oh, this is kind of cool. All right, I'm going to change it to how I like to look at it. So Salah's going up tonight to 12.8. Looks like Szoboszlai and Udogie are not going to go up, but it looks like no one else is going up tonight. Palmer probably goes up at some point this week. And we can see on the change time here, all the predictions there. Trippier's probably going to go up this week as well. So the players most in danger of going up in price this week are Salah, which will probably happen tonight, Palmer tomorrow, Trippier 2 days. And that's about it in terms of players looking likely to go up in price. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to be a slow week for price changes, which is nice, or at least price changes up. Let's look at the downs. So Cody Gakpo probably going to drop tonight, and then quite a few other players are looking likely to drop. So Perisic, McAllister, Baldock, Grealish, Mings, Tonali, a few other players, Edison maybe, Estupinian. He's just dropping and dropping, isn't he? Yeah, a few people looking like they're going to go down. But yeah, this looks really cool now. Yeah, this is the Fantasy Football Hub price change prediction tool. This is good. This is good. I'm going to I have to figure out how it works a little bit more because they've changed it. And it looks nice. And yeah, it's kind of helpful the way they've done it, actually. So yeah, shout out to Fantasy Football Hub as always. Link in the description if you want to get yourself a Fantasy Football Hub membership. And it helps support the channel as well. But anyway, very, very briefly, yes, I am off Twitter as of Friday. I'm not going to say I've quit forever. In fact, I'm going to have to go back to Twitter at some point or another. And the reason why I'm going to have to go back is because I need Twitter to do the 100 Experts video. Now, am I ready to go back to Twitter yet? Or X, if you want to call it that? No, I am not. I'm not enjoying the X experience. I think, people are just so toxic on there. And I know a lot of people are lovely on there, but a lot of people are so toxic on there. And I think to some degree, my posts are not always appreciated. So it's not just the fact that I'm not enjoying it, but it seems like a lot of other people are not enjoying me on Twitter either. So look, maybe it just needs to be a little break there. If I'm not enjoying it and people aren't enjoying me being on there, or I know a lot of people do enjoy my stuff on Twitter, but I know a lot of people don't as well. So, but yeah, basically I just can't be asked. It doesn't make me happy, so why should I do it? Why should I do something that doesn't make me happy? So I've come off Twitter. And the only problem is that I use Twitter to gather responses for the 100 Experts videos, which is just so... It's just so annoying that I've set it up that way now in hindsight. That's the way we've done it for two and a half years now. So... How are we going to do 100 Experts this week? Well, the answer to that is we're not. We're not going to do the 100 Experts video on this week. I just don't want to. I just don't want to go back on Twitter. I just don't want it. I don't want that app. I don't want to be on that app. And I know if I just put out an innocent asking 100 experts tweet out to gather some responses, there's gonna be toxicity. The replies are gonna be toxic. You know, and I already know what the responses are going to be. They're going to be, oh, okay, so he comes back to Twitter when he's trying to make a video and trying to make money, or it'll be, oh, clearly you don't hate Twitter that much if you can still use it to make videos. People say stuff like that, and yeah, can't be asked. Can't be asked if I'm totally honest, and why should I? So yes, there's going to be no 100 experts, which I am genuinely really sorry about. I hate that is the case. It is my favourite video. I know it's some of your favourite video as well. So I can only apologise for that. I really can. But we'll have all of the rest of the content will be as normal. Everything else will be normal this week. It'll just be that one video that will be missing. So yeah. Apologies, I just don't have the infrastructure to do it outside of that. Or maybe I can get someone else to do it for me. I don't even know how that would work. I just don't know. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't really want to stress myself out about it. But next week, maybe we go back onto Twitter and just do, you know, just that or something like that. Voldron says, why do you care about what losers are saying on the internet? Should be laughing your way to the bank. It's just work, mate. But I'm not laughing my way to the bank. I don't make money from Twitter. I make about like $10 per month on the Twitter ad scheme thing. You know, it's not my money maker. So it's not like I'm laughing my way to the bank or anything like that. You can ask the YouTube community for 100 experts video. Yeah, but then on YouTube, I have no way of verifying who anyone is. How do I even know I'm getting results from experts? I could just be getting like random results from people who don't have a clue what they're doing, and suddenly I'm getting really rubbish data. Like, it's too much of a trust exercise on the community tab. Whereas on Twitter, I gather the experts data from people who I know and trust. I don't really know how else to do it. But whatever. Anyway, don't want to dwell on the Twitter stuff. The point is, it was toxic. Didn't enjoy it. So I stopped doing it. You know, as everyone, I would advise everyone to do in every walk of their life. If you are doing something in your life which is not providing any benefit to your life, and it's not it's not making you happy, then why should you do it? Just stop doing it. Simple as that. And I think addiction to social media is a real thing, and maybe that's what's been holding me to ransom to stay on Twitter. The addiction to the social media. But I'm happier without it. Genuinely. Maybe set up a Discord for the experts or a mailing list. Yeah. But the problem is, how do I contact the experts in the first place without going back on Twitter? It's just, it's not gonna happen this week. I do apologise. It's just not gonna happen this week. I'll figure it out for next week. But yeah, apologies, guys. Because I really wish I could do it. But whatever. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there. Really, really appreciate you joining me today. We've been going for an hour, over an hour actually, which is crazy. There was a wildcard video I dropped earlier today. If you want to check that out, we also, I think we're going to do the tier list video tomorrow, and then we're going to do buy, sell, keep, avoid on Wednesday, and then Thursday will be team selection, and Friday we'll do the usual press conference roundup video. So that will all be as normal after that, up from Thursday onwards. But every other video has basically been knocked back one day this week, which I think is fine, just to make up for the lack of 100 experts. So yeah, hope to see you on some of the other videos. Go check out the wildcard video I posted this morning if you want to, or not. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Once again, drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.